After a scammer tenant stopped paying rent nearly a year ago, a landlord who was fed up organized a protest outside the house. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of Washington State. Now, this is something that I haven't seen done many times before. I have talked about landlord protests up in New York City when the landlords were protesting against the eviction moratoriums, but I have not seen a landlord who organized a protest outside the house that he rents out to a tenant who is a scammer, who refuses to pay rent, who uses the court system and the local laws to try to screw that landlord over. I mean, this is something completely different, and it's good. It's a positive thing, in my opinion, because if nothing else, we can shame these people, put them in the spotlight, show the other landlords who these garbage people are so that they don't become a victim to the same person, and also show the general public how big of an issue this is. Okay, we need to let people know, because they think that all landlords are bad. They think that all landlords are out there, they're greedy, they have no reason to be doing the things that they're doing, and they're just want to make money off of the backs of other people. Well, that's not the case. Okay, we have professional tenants. That's what I've been talking about for the last few days. Professional tenants, scammers, squatters, etc., who go in there, they take everything they can from us. Essentially, they're stealing our properties from us. When they are living in a property without paying rent, they are stealing that property from us. They are stealing our means of existing. Okay, that's how we make money. That is how we get paid. And they get free lawyers. They get all these special rights and privileges for stealing from us. What a joke. It is a complete joke, okay? In my opinion, they should get these people, lock them up in jail with the other people who are thieves, okay? Who are also fraudsters, who are scammers, people who break and enter, people who do property damage, okay? All those things are crimes, yet they allow tenants to do it. What a joke, and I am sick of it, okay? So I'm glad to see that this landlord organized this protest, and you know what? It looks like it was a pretty decent sized one too, okay? It wasn't just like a few people who showed up here. This landlord has the support of the community, and that is important right there. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Do you have the guts to organize a protest outside of one of the houses of your non-paying tenants, okay? I'm just curious, do you have the guts to do this sort of thing? I don't know if I could do it, okay? I mean, I don't like to put myself out there like that, okay? It's already hard enough for me to make these videos, but actually being outside of the house, that's the kind of thing that, it takes a special kind of person, but after losing tens of thousands of dollars, you know what? Maybe I changed my mind on that, because you know what? The tenant doesn't deserve anything. The tenant deserves all of the negative attention they get, all of it. And the landlord needs to get their property back. So if this is what it takes, then so be it. But anyway, let's get into this article and see what it says. This article is coming from ComoNews.com, and it says, landlords protest outside Bellevue rental home over tenants' non-payment of rent. And there's a decent video that comes with this article, kind of, showing the crowd size and all that. I'll play that for you right now.
The sign says, serial squatter lives here.
People need to take responsibility for their actions.
A large protest outside of Jaskaran Singh's home on 123rd Avenue Southeast in Bellevue is the culmination of almost a year in missed rent payments by the man, who Como decided not to name, that is staying inside the home. The landlord said he's taken an $80,000 hit on this. The last time rent was paid was last May, and the eviction process has been anything but issue-free. Singh's attorney, Stephen Freeborn, spoke to us on the phone about the rally. Is there a message you want to give to the community?
I was there, and I thank them for all coming, because it was not just community rally, but there were people that came as far away as Tacoma, Olympia. And what I really appreciated was we had representatives from both the Democratic and Republican parties, which I was very surprised, and I'm very happy to see, because this should not be a partisan issue.
All right, you saw the video. Let's get into the article. A landlord organized a protest outside his rental home in Bellevue to call attention to a tenant who hasn't paid rent since May of last year, but so far has been able to delay eviction efforts. Jaskaran Singh owns a single-family home on 123rd Avenue Southeast and rented it to a couple and their children in summer of 2022. Como News is not naming the tenants at this point. Well, why not, okay? I mean, shame these people. They are stealing. You know, people who commit criminal offenses, they don't deserve respect. They don't need privacy. Okay, they're screwing this landlord out of tens of thousands of dollars, and we got to respect their price. Screw them, okay? They can go to hell. Singh said he received the first and last month's rent when the family moved in, but nothing after that. He's not ready to pay. He's exploiting the system, basically, said Jaskaran Singh, the property owner. After months of non-payment, Singh and his attorney, Stephen Freeborn, filed the eviction proceedings. That is when the Housing Justice Project stepped in and provided the tenants with free legal assistance to navigate the process. Ultimately, HJP paid the back rent as well as a 3-month advance to give the family time to move out. So this Housing Justice Project, of course, free lawyers to tenants who aren't paying their rent. Keep in mind that the people who are not paying their rent, right? Even if you give them some sort of rental assistance, that does not mean that they are going to pay going into the future. Okay, that's why a lot of landlords, even if they are made whole by being paid back the money that they are owed, they still want to proceed with the eviction proceedings because the tenant's still garbage. The tenant still isn't going to pay, and the tenant is still a problem. So they need to understand that, hey, getting paid the money I owed is not going to stop the eviction. It's only going to, delay it. Now, if I was the landlord, I would have taken that money as well, right? But a lot of landlords will deny the rental assistance because they just want that tenant up out of there. And if you take the rental assistance, that means that you might have to keep that tenant in there for a longer period of time. However, the tenant decided to stay, and Singh said the problems he had collecting rent started all over again. He never paid rent after May 2023 of last year, so it's been almost 11 months now, Singh said. Late last year, the landlord filed again to have the tenants evicted for non-payment and was granted a writ of execution in January. But HJP requested a stay on that eviction, with a next court case scheduled for April. So yeah, basically, tenant hasn't paid, the HJP, the Housing Justice Project, I guess they're a nonprofit or a non-governmental organization, right? Provides these free lawyers for these tenants. The lawyer, of course, filed for an extension, and now we're to the point where, guess what? It's about a year since this landlord has been paid rent. And landlord's out tens of thousands of dollars. So yeah, this is a big problem. This is the sort of thing that all of us landlords have had to deal with in the past. I like to highlight these sort of stories because, a lot of people, they think that it's all, sipping martinis on the beach and all of us are super duper wealthy. Does this sound like this guy is super wealthy? He owns a single family house, okay? He's probably just a working class landlord, and it costs a lot of money to maintain even a single house, okay? Most landlords, and I've looked up the stats before, I believe it's 60% of all small mom and pop landlords have a mortgage on their property. That means that we have to make a monthly mortgage payment. We have to pay our taxes, our property taxes. We have to pay insurance. We have to pay for maintenance, capital expenditures. Some of us have property management, etc., right? So when we do not receive our rent, that puts us into a huge amount of financial distress. Now, a lot of landlords, they do have some emergency reserves to be able to cover a few months of non-payment of rent, right? But you go beyond that and you're talking about this guy here who's almost to a year, and that is enough to bankrupt you, okay? It's enough to bankrupt you. Or you could lose the property back to the bank. It could be foreclosed. How is that fair? Because you had a thief stealing your property from you, and then you had governmental organizations filing useless motions. you know, the only motion they need to do is motion that tenant up out of the property, because guess what? They didn't pay the rent. They have zero right to be there. The tenant said he lost his job during the pandemic and continues to struggle to find work as a consultant in the medical field. The landlord's attorney takes issue with that. The guy can't pay his rent, but he has 2 brand new cars parked in the driveway, Freeborn said, echoing a point he made in court filings. Singh said he has tried to get from the legislature as well as local leaders to no avail, and at this point is out $80,000. So yeah, this landlord's out 80 grand. Okay, 80 grand. I'm sure that's between, you know, legal fees, lost rent, all the other expenses that, you know, he has accumulated over the course of darn near a year. And, you know, here's my problem, right? My issue is the tenant is sitting here saying, listen, I have a reason why I didn't pay the rent. I didn't pay the rent because I lost my job during the pandemic, blah, 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 right? And here is my response to that. That's your problem. That's not my problem. You lost your job. You can't pay your bills. Okay? My problem is you are in my property not paying the rent. So you've got to go. If you need to go find a job, you go find it elsewhere. You go find somewhere you can afford to pay. I am not your homeless shelter. Get the heck out of here. Okay, so that's my personal opinion of this whole situation. This is, you know, typical story that I read out of places like Washington State. This is, you know, a state where they try everything they can to make it as difficult as possible for a landlord to be able to remove a tenant from their own property, regardless of if the tenant is paying the rent or not. So anyway, I'll put a link to the article in the description down below. Let me know what you think in the comments. Okay, are you on this tenant's side? Should the tenant be allowed to stay in the property without paying the rent? Okay, or do you think this tenant needs to get the heck up out of there? That's what my personal opinion is, and I'm just curious what the other people watching this video think.